Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Sagittarius for July 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, or click on the link below this video to see more about my personal live coaching, also to see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine, which is available on a sliding scale and is intended to help you navigate through the many expressions of the stars with as much grace and fulfillment and ease as possible. And while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. We've got a wild roller coaster ride this July. We've got a lot of sweet aspects. We've got a lot of challenging aspects. And I'm calling the theme of this month Gwazi. If you sign up for my free email newsletter, you get a written report before the month of the transits, some of the transits that I talk about in the horoscope. Sometimes there's different things in there, but a summary of the basic energies that you're working with in a written version. And when I wrote for July, I named it Gwazi. And Gwazi is a roller coaster ride. Well, it was a roller coaster ride, an old, rickety, bumpy, wooden roller coaster in Tampa, Florida, at Busch Gardens. It's no longer in use. It had its last ride here in 2015, but it was bumpy and like bone crushing, but with certain little periods of whee. And that is what July is like. We start out in one of these nice down slopes of a whee, gliding off of the energies that were so beautiful at the end of June. This awesome trine between Uranus and Jupiter is continuing, even though it's not exact the way it was on June 23rd. These planets take a while to move around, so anytime we have an aspect between slower moving planets, they're in effect for longer. They're not just for several days, they're for much longer. So we have this energy of Uranus in Aries and Jupiter in Leo, expanding creativity, expanding motivation and excitement and passion, and then we've got quite a few sweet aspects coming and joining these aspects and enlivening them. And we've got some dicey parts. So let's just talk about all of it from the beginning. Right at the beginning of the month, again, we did this in June too, right at the beginning of that month, we had a full moon. That full moon was aspecting Neptune in a challenging way. This July 1st full moon is the first of two full moons in July. We have one on July 1st, one on July 31st, and this first full moon is in Capricorn. And it has these beautiful aspects to Neptune this time. So I always talk about how when we have a challenging aspect, these are mathematical aspects. Astrology is a science, and science is based in math. And the angles that these planets are making are what flavor the energies. So a challenging aspect to a full moon, like we had in June, adds more drama and upset to what is already an emotional time. Full moons always carry some level of emotional shaking off or emotional fullness or completion. But this full moon, July 1st, has these beautiful aspects to the sun, beautiful aspects to the moon in this fullness. And it's one of several very poetic, artistic, inspirational transits that are happening this month. A sub-theme, which I didn't write in the report, but I'm calling this the time to be in your studio. And your studio is your office or your actual studio or whatever place that is that you bring your unique expression of what you are and what you're doing here. This month is amazing for that because there will be so many inspirational times where you can have really cool things come through you. And then there's some times that are really super challenging, but as an outlet for those challenges, you can benefit by using your creativity. So this first full moon, we know that there's going to be emotional in some way. We know that with the nice aspect to Neptune, there's more of a chance that it can have positive energy at this full moon. Then July 2nd through 5th, we've got Jupiter and Uranus. Let's talk about Jupiter and Uranus for a minute, because for you early degree Sag placements and some of you middle degree Sag placements, you have had Jupiter expanding your 9th house. And the rest of you who have not had this, you're going to have this coming. But where Jupiter is important because it's like adding layers to what Jupiter has been doing, because Jupiter is doing its thing it's been doing either in your 9th house or 8th house. Then Uranus came and sent an aspect to that. Now Venus comes and is sitting right with Jupiter, and now Mercury is going to come right in between Uranus and Jupiter and Venus here, and adding to the story. So again, let's just take it piece by piece. So Jupiter is the great expander. It brings luck and benevolence and growth and opportunities, and it rules the sign of Sagittarius. It's your ruling planet. It's my favorite planet, and it's been accentuating early to some middle degree Sag placements, your actual ninth house, which is ruled by Jupiter. It's there in its native place. Expanding teaching, learning, religious studies, spiritual studies, publishing, speaking, communication, long distance travel, international affairs, different cultures, different languages. That energy has been accentuated for you earlier degree placements, some of you middle degree placements, and for the rest of you, that energy is coming. As time goes on, Jupiter is going to start accentuating that place for you. Now, at the end of June, and you started feeling it before then, Uranus comes in Aries in this beautiful angle and just adds life, enlivens that Jupiter transit. Now, the rest of you who don't have Jupiter in the ninth house, it's been in the eighth house, expanding other people's money, your joint financial resources, your in-laws, family money from your in-laws, your spousal money, your family, blood family, or people on your side of the family, sweepstakes, scholarships, financial, like loans, things like that, credit. That sector has been being expanded. Debt, you might have been able to pay debt off. This energy of expansion has been moving through this house of shared resources or other people's money. This is also a house of esoteric studies. So whether it was in this eighth house or ninth house for you, Uranus came with this surprise, vibrant element and added life to those places, bringing in things from other people's money or things into publishing, or for some of you, both. Now, Jupiter has joined, Venus has joined the party. Now, Venus and Jupiter are sitting together in the sky. Whenever two planets are together, they encourage, support, flavor each other. And Jupiter, the great expander, and Venus ruling love, beauty, and money, now that joins in this whole scene, whether it's in your ninth or eighth house, bringing more money, bringing more love, more harmony. So now we've got our three players. Now, between July 2nd and July 5th, we have Mercury making a favorable angle to Uranus, making a favorable angle to Jupiter, and making a favorable angle to Venus, coming right in between them with this beautiful 60-degree angle and just flavoring all of this story that's already going on. Some of you will experience this additional flavor in the 7th house of relationships. Some of you will experience in the 6th house of your health, your well-being, your diet, pets, animals, also the house of yoga, anything that you do every day. If you go to an office, or whatever your work day, everyday experience, it's the mundane reality. It's what you do every day. Some of you have this information or opportunity or communication coming in that sector and enlivening this. So starting around July 6th, and whenever I give you an exact date, it's always in either direction. It's not always the energy is only on this date and it's only on this date and that's the only time you can feel it. There's potentials before and there's potentials after. So around July 6th, we have our first mischievous transit of the month, and that is the Sun coming and opposing Pluto. You earlier degree Sag placements and some of you middle degree Sag placements are experiencing this in your 2nd and 8th house. So the houses of me and my stuff and us and our stuff. The rest of you will be experiencing this Sun-Pluto opposition, and later we will all experience this Mercury conjunct Mars, both opposing Pluto. So first the Sun is doing this, then the Mercury and Mars are going to do this later in the month. But for the rest of you, you're experiencing this in your 1st and 7th houses, which is the house of me and we. So there's a lot of similarities between the 1st and 2nd house and the 7th and 8th house. They're both houses of me and we. So all Sagittarius are going to have this story of me and my stuff, us and our stuff. You know, the difference between us, the sameness between us, this kind of push and pull between me and we and my stuff and our stuff is the story for Sag. And we've had a strong relationship focus for a while now through some outer planets, and now through more inner planets are moving through the partnership houses, the 7th and 8th houses. So strong relationship focus, really strong in June, continuing into July. everything having to do with your romantic relationships, business relationships, client relationships, one-on-one relationships of any kind are very much at odds with each other and supported. There's positive aspects to this and there's negative aspects to this. This first one is the sun opposing Pluto, and these have to do with, the energy of authority, outer authority and your inner authority in conflict of some kind, naysaying, antagonism of some kind. Pluto has some different energy than Saturn does, but since Pluto is in the sign of Capricorn for such an extended period of time, it's acting in many ways with a Saturnian flair because Saturn rules Capricorn. So Pluto here in this placement takes on a lot of the energies of what we would describe usually as Saturn, so like the taskmaster and the authoritarian and, the stern kind of older energy that looks down on you and waves their finger disapprovingly sometimes. In this case, because it's a challenging angle, it is a disapproving finger wag. And that's the kind of energy that's being brought in here on July 6th and extends out around July 15th. We have Mercury and Mars opposing Pluto, but we'll get there. Okay, so then on July 8th and 13th, we have Mars and then Mercury making this sweet aspect to Neptune. This is one of those aspects I referred to earlier that is sweet and it's dreamy and it's escaping in a good way. It's a positive escape and release, and it's poetic and it's romantic and it's idealistic, and it can be favoring just quiet, peaceful, serene things. And since Neptune rules water, quiet, peaceful things near water are very much indicated. But right in between this July 8th and July 13th, these aspects with Neptune that are favorable, we've got July 12th, Sun in Cancer opposing Uranus. Now Uranus gets in on the deal in a way that is not as positive as all these other things we were talking about with Uranus. So the earlier degree placements and some middle degree placements have had Uranus, this upheaval, volatile force, moving through the house of children, the house of romance, the house of creativity. And the rest of you still have Uranus moving through your fourth house, bringing upsets in home, surprises with family things, we'll have to move a lot, things like that has been kind of the story of this upheaval of Uranus in the fourth house. So when it comes into the favorable angles, as it does earlier in the month, there are these sweet things that can come in either to that fifth house that's been kind of getting tested with romance and with kids and things like that. And for some of you, that's still in the fourth house, so challenging things involving home and family. That's what's going to be aspected in a negative way starting around July 12th with the Sun squaring Uranus. And then on July 18th, Mercury is now going to come and square Uranus. So information that comes to us that's not positive, a force that comes to us that's disapproving, some kind of challenge with kids or some kind of challenge with home or family. And usually Uranus will be something that comes of a surprise. If it is something that you saw coming or you intuitively felt coming, it has a way of still feeling like you got blindsided even if you knew it was coming, because Uranus just has that kind of totally upsetting things, like a twister that comes through and just makes a total mess of something. That's the energy that Uranus has. So even if you heard in the forecast that, twisters are coming, like, oh, you expected maybe it might come, when it actually comes, it's like, still there's that shock. So that energy is going on. Then on July 13th, we have Venus in this challenging aspect with Saturn. And again, now Saturn is this taskmaster, is this stern force, and it's usually this energy that we're looking to for approval. And when it's in an unfavorable angle, we're not getting the approval. We're not getting the head pat or whatever we're looking for there. And this is some kind of challenge with love, money, something Venus related. Then on July 15th, we have the new moon in Cancer that's supposed to be this light and happy and new energy starting, something opening up, something for us, and it will also do that. But it has all this baggage, some that we discussed, some we're about to go more into here with Mercury and Mars now moving along the path of the Sun and opposing Pluto. Again, these second and eighth or first or seventh houses of me and we are the subject of this Mercury, which rules how you communicate and your mobility, and Mars, which rules your action. these forces are coming at odds with the atomic bomb, Pluto, in this energy of me and we and our stuff and my stuff and, you know, your stuff and all that. So it's challenging. Part of why I make a very strong effort to get these out to you very early is so that you can plan to create the space that can be most supportive when the challenges come. So it's very similar to if you hear the forecast and it's supposed to rain and you have all this laundry drying out on the line. If you know that the storm is coming, you bring the clothes in, and then that saves you the trouble of having to rewash everything and do whatever. So if you know that this storm energy is coming in the middle of July, starting after about the first week, then you can prepare the space and prepare yourself and leave room in your schedule and address things that seem to be pending so that they don't have to blow up then. You know, that's why I love inner work. Any time spent on inner work is never wasted. So the more you can do to work with these matters beforehand, the more you're ready to handle them when they come. Also a good way to understand this is if you, like how you feel after a vacation when you go back to work, it's easier to let things slide. If you know that these are going to be really nerve-jangling, tense times in the middle of July here, then just get yourself ready, get in a good exercise routine, you know, get your meditation practice going so that it's good and solid by then. Get a punching bag. That's a great idea. So you can get your aggression out, but just be really aware that when Mars and Mercury oppose Pluto, things can get really physical, you know, from not a good way, a very aggressive way. So people running red lights, you know, road rage, people freaking out, and then things getting physical. It's just a dangerously volatile type of energy. Now, always remember that I tell you these things not to scare you, and I do not want to do that, and it's not my intention. You have to know when there's challenges potentially that are coming so that you can prepare yourself for them and that you can be more aware, because the awareness can create a situation where you can prevent some unnecessary problems for yourself if there are certain things that can be prevented. So, and then of course, do the inner work, right? So after around July 18th, when Mercury then comes and makes it square to Uranus, then we have a little sweet spot, one of the wee spots that I referred to. So around July 21st through July 23rd, and the days around that, the Sun and Mercury get together in the sky, which is a favorable time. And this, you know, the Sun enlivens anything it's near. So it expands communication, and now both of these planets are trining, making a favorable aspect to Saturn. A favorable aspect to Saturn is like what makes the old geezer smile. You know, this grouchy old guy. We talked about a nice aspect last month with Venus doing that. This month, the Sun and Mercury are kind of making this big stern energy laugh a little bit and bring some benevolence. So here, when Saturn's involved, some practical applications can resolve long-standing problems, and you have that potential here. I don't recommend this time as launching anything though. Once you get past around July 5th, you have to have those things already done. You really need to wrap up anything you're trying to get out into the world. Like if your website developer or your business partner says, yeah, we're gonna launch this new business in the middle of July, at the end of July into August. Don't do that. You have to launch it before, or you have to wait until all these retrogrades. So if you can get something out, even if it needs to be tweaked some, definitely get it out in those beautiful transits in the second half of June and the first couple of days of July. And then throughout the Venus retrograde cycle, you can be correcting, adjusting, adding to, modifying the things that you presented. But you don't want to have the birth date for your business be when Venus, which rules money, is backwards. So that happens July 25th, Venus goes retrograde. If you've been listening to my reports, you know that Venus's shadow period actually began June 22nd. So we've been kind of brewing. And then Venus retrograde runs through September 8th, but its shadow period runs to the end of September. So during Venus retrograde, it's an amazing time to be proactive with going deep into questions about money and love. Almost everybody in the world is going to be questioning their relationship as Venus is in retrograde. And it could be just looking fondly back over the time and appreciating it, you know, but it's this evaluation process of looking back over things. And if there's anything that's awry, it's going to be brought up into the forefront. So a lot of relationship problems happen when Venus is in retrograde, because anything that's unresolved, that has been kind of swept under the carpet, it's like the baby comes and picks the carpet up, and then all the stuff that was under the carpet is just everywhere, you know? So that is what the retrogrades are like. It's just things that have swept under there just get loose and free. But I see that as a positive thing, because anything that's under the carpet is still affecting you in your life in negative ways. So you just get it out there and you deal with it. So if you have some if you and your beloved have some therapy sessions scheduled, when these things come up, you'll just like right into gear, and you can make the most of them. This is a process to reevaluate, but it's not a time to make decisions if you can help it, because you're not going to have the full story of your reevaluation until the end. So try to not make any permanent decisions if you can, unless it's something that is just like if you've been doing a divorce thing and things might then come through in Venus retrograde or something like that. But like initiating something as far as an ending, then, you know, just be very aware to make sure that that's what you want to do first, because a lot of people are not seeing love or money clearly. Something Venus retrograde is great for is getting a great deal on items that might usually be expensive. This is not a time to spend a lot of money on luxury items. That's the worst thing to do. Or redesign your house. Don't do that during Venus retrograde, because you'll probably hate it by the time Venus goes direct. But what it is good for is picking up bargains. And the reason for that is because people are going back over their things about that have some value and trying to sell them. And they're not selling them for the prices that they should be getting for them. So you could get a bargain on that. But if you're a person that has expensive things that you're thinking of selling during that time, you may regret that you sold them, or find that they were worth a lot more, and that someone who knew what they were doing went and took advantage of the fact that you were selling it during Venus retrograde. So July 26th, Uranus in Aries goes retrograde. Everyone will be asking the questions of freedom. What makes you free? Where are you not free? You know, and this is going to be general freedom questions, but again, there's going to be some flavor to whatever house it's going retrograde in, you know. So if it's in your 5th house, things involving your creativity and that flow and your romantic stuff and things involving kids. If it's retrograde in your 4th house, which it will be for middle to later degree Sag placements, you know, it's like home and houses and real estate and family and finding freedom there in places where you haven't. So July 31st, we have the second of the full moons, and this one is in Aquarius. And some of you earlier degree placements are going to experience this in the 3rd house of communication, also of siblings and other relatives like cousins and aunts and uncles and that. So there could be something emotional around that. Something involving your car. If you have money coming in before now, put some aside, because some home or car related things could come up, and you'll want to have the money for that. And it might be just as simple as you can get a heck of a bargain on something, and you want to have the money so you can buy that, you know. But it's just very much indicating keeping some money stashed. For the rest of you, that full moon will be in the 2nd house. Some of you will experience it in both. So this fullness having to do with something financial. If you didn't experience the full moon at the beginning of the month in your financial sector, then you'll experience this one in your financial sector. So sometime during this month, some kind of fullness and possibly drama could come to something money related. So I can't see what's going on in your personal chart. I'd like very much to, if you would like to have a personal live reading with me, check out my website, aspiritualspark.com. Definitely check out my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine. I have been so blessed to work with people all over the world, with people of all different ages, and I've gotten to see what is the same about us as humans. And those things are what I put into the Shine program. Those things I consistently see people asking questions about, people having problems with, people having challenges with. Those things are what I put into the program so that you can work on them and you can strengthen those weak links and have an easier time. It's on a sliding scale, so it's accessible to everyone. And definitely sign up for my free email newsletter. You'll get monthly written reports and all kinds of other juicy things as they come. And I hope you have a wonderful month. I'll see you next month.